I'm waiting.
Hi, my name's Guy.
Hey everybody, it's Dawn Christine with DesignTalk, and we are doing an episode called Site Savvy, the Power of Site Selection. And I'm here with Pru Pinfold and Guy Alty, and we are going to talk with Guy about some questions about how to pick a site. What are the critical things to consider?
Yep.
And, you know, back in America, it's location, location, location that is so critical. So
Yep.
tell us a little bit about Wanaka and this area, and what are the things that people should consider when they're thinking of building in New Zealand and Wanaka, Queenstown specifically.
Okay, well, we live in a pretty extreme climate, to be perfectly honest. We're right on the 45th parallel, which is halfway between the equator and the South Pole. And we're also living in what we call the roaring 40s, which is the massive wind that goes right underneath Australia. And then 50 kilometres that way, the west coast, it hits there, and we have one of the highest rainfalls in the world. And then from here, even though it can be raining really heavily over there, it can be dry and arid like a European summer here. So we have a lot of high winds. We also have really strong heat. So two things whenever someone comes to town, I say the most important thing you've got to think about when you're building a house, when looking at a house, is be able to get out of the sun and be able to get out of the wind. So those factors are really important. So the geography of the land, it was carved out by glaciers way back in the day, and in doing so it's left pristine lakes and rivers, native bush, and you know, some pretty extreme terrain, and that terrain is consistent of schists and alluvial soils, and there's a whole lot of aquifers that run through. So, you know, understanding the land and also understanding the different areas, you know, because you can go 10 kilometres in one direction, and the whole relief of it can go from river flats into steep valleys. So.
And with that too, you're also dealing with the summer conditions, like you touched on, the extreme heat.
Yeah.
And then you got the snow in winter.
Yeah.
So your house has to do everything. Your site has to be this little climate that we need to design to meet all of these conditions.
Yeah. Absolute extremes. And there's a factor we have here in Wanaka, and it's called the inversion layer. And the inversion layer comes between May and July, and that comes when the air temperature drops to a level where the lake's actually warmer, and so it evaporates. And so when there's no wind, we can be sitting in cloud for up to 5 days.
Familiar with the native landscape.
And working as a team with the site selection. Do you ever include architects at this preliminary stage?
Yes.
Can you include architects?
Yes, no, you can.
May you?
No, you can. So what I do is I include geotechs,
Yes.
architects, and also bring in builders
Yeah.
and landscape.
We love working as a team throughout the project, so this sounds perfect. Getting everyone on the same page at the start, it just saves everyone a hassle, doesn't it? Yeah.
And then we can go back in, because there's a couple of developments around here, like the Glendow Bay development, which is a golf course. It's like the Millbrook that's been designed around this, like 42 sites around here.
And then you have development controls that are already set up for you, don't you? Yes.
So there's sort of different aspects there. And then also, you know, the location, where we put, you know, as much as they want to go into a pristine area and be a little bit out of town, it's the engineering as far as roading, services, all of those things, which are all massive costs.
So the infrastructure to go off grid, which we can do, is something that needs to be considered right at the beginning, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know? And is that what you want to take on?
Yeah, especially when it comes to, you know, just water, you know, sourcing water, you know, how much water can you get, what's the access, and then also, because we live in a lake and river environment, when it comes to wastewater, you have to
discharge has to be really clean.
And so there's massive rules and regulations.
And for Americans who are interested in building overseas here, it'd be very difficult for them to understand all these little facets of design and how they come together. And that's why we form the Cross-Pacific Design Group, because we become that connection, that bridge across the Pacific, which is where we came up with the name, that can help fill in all those spots that they may not know and understand, the jurisdictional requirements, the land requirements. Okay, we might be able to buy a piece of land, but is it going to have the resources that we need to build with, to access the water? So Guy, tell us a little bit about, from the American perspective, clients building here, what would they expect?
Well, the most important thing is for me as a realtor is to really understand what they want. So there's some key questions I ask people is like, do you want to be in town? Do you want to, do you want to be part of the community? Do you want to have some bit of, do you want to have isolation? Do you want to be away as far as, having your own little zone to get to? So that understanding those factors, and then from there really introducing them to the people that are involved as far as getting in the process right from the start.
That's right.
Architects, planners, infrastructure, and sort of working and also a series of builders as well, because understanding that right from the start, they can go in.
It's key.
Yeah, all the cards are on the table.
That's right.
And then from there, they can start piecing everything together. So it's,
I would agree. The team and building the right team is critical to the success of the project.
yes, it is. Yeah, and also a lot of people come here, and it's a big area, and the different zones is something that people have to understand. And 9 times out of 10, I say, hey, look, just come here and rent a house for like a couple of months, and you'll get to know the area really well. Whereas some people, the whole fact of just coming in here, just going in hard, and then all of a sudden, but coming here and feeling the environment and understanding it, and it's amazing what 2 songs in the car drive can change as far as the different aspects as far as
that's a really great point, because you really can't feel what the town feels like. You can see pictures. You might even be able to get some good aerials. You might be able to see some good interviews, but until your feet are on the ground, you can't really get a sense of the place.
No, true. And understanding what the client really wants as far as, do they want to be close to the mountains?
And what does that mean?
Yeah, do they want to be close to the ski areas, or are they into hunting, or are they into water sports, or they want to be by the rivers? Do they want to be able to get out? Do they want to be at 1 hour's drive from the airport to be able to transition in and out? Are they planning to set up a business, so they want to be close to the commercial hubs? So
Definitely. So it's about prioritizing. What are the priorities? So maybe you want to be skiing in the winter and you want to be fishing in the summer. So it's about prioritizing, and that's where Pru and I really come in, because we work with the clients to help create that wish list of priorities, and then also talk about and decide, how do we capture the prevailing breezes? How do we set and site the house for the sun and the sun patterns? So that's all key steps in those early stages of picking a site.
So we do a thing called the pre-design feasibility study. So once we're looking at a site, we can do that pre-design feasibility in all of those aspects, and even some you might not have considered. Perhaps they don't know that there's other options, and so we look at all of the options, put them in the report, and then present them. And then the client can move forward with a really informed decision about whether this is the right site for them or it's not, and what are the other options.
Yeah, and access is a really important thing, because as much as you may see an idyllic location, the fundamentals of the road to get to it.
Dawn knows all about that.
Yeah, and also, where does the water come from? Because as much as we're living with these massive aquifers there, as far as the lakes, there's also all the amount of water that goes underneath the ground. And as much as it's getting the water, accessing the water, it's also the wastewater. So there's very strict rules and regulations around that as well. So understanding that, and all of those come at cost. So understanding where the client wants to be, and as much as taking their overall budget into consideration, as far as from a land perspective, what the result is.
Yeah, so we sort of have that land cost. We have what we call the infrastructure, or the site costs, and then you have the building costs, and they're sort of 3 distinct stages that all need to talk to each other. But the building cost is only one part of that client budget that we like to look at the beginning of a project, because it may be unrealistic. Like you say, some sites are so much easier to provide an infrastructure for. They may already have power. So site access and site servicing, the budgets that we talked about. So we've got the site budget, we've got buying the site, putting the infrastructure into place, and then the building costs. So those 3 things become the project budget, which is different from just the building costs. So we need to make sure that everyone's on the same page as to what it costs, because different sites cost different.
True, and also we drove a lot on gravel roads down here.
Yeah.
And so if you're not comfortable driving in winter conditions on gravel roads, and quite extreme roading, then sometimes going into somewhere where the roads are already tar sealed, or having your ear to the ground on some of the developments that are happening in the rural aspect, in the rural areas that take all that infrastructure into place. So there's several developments that are in the planning stages and coming near completion, where all of the hard work at the back end has been done.
That's right.
Eroding, solar power, joint surfaces. So all you need to do is go in there, and as much you can have that piece of nature and not have to worry about that big aspect.
That's right. And it takes time too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
To get to that point. And also, like you say, the gravel roads, some sites you can also have helipads or access to the airport. So to get to Wanaka, you'd land in Queenstown.
Queenstown is the major hub. So it's classed as an international airport. As much as it's an international airport, it really only that international flight is really to Australia. But from there it goes to Auckland and Christchurch very regularly. Wanaka Airport, it's more of a private airport. It's sort of your little private planes and helicopters are out there. They service those local planes there, and then there's a couple of tourism operators that operate out of there to the area. There's a bit of talk about what's going to happen with airports in what I call the Upper Clutha region, which is Wanaka, Hawea, Nugget, Cadrona, as far as the development of the airport. And there's a couple of proposed airports out in the likes of Terrace, which is 20 minutes from here, that could have a major influence on this area and the whole South Island as far as bringing wide body jets in the future. So there's a bit of a, we joke about it, but we call it Terrace to Paris. But hey, you never know. And whether it's a question of if or when, only time will tell.